All right, hello everyone. I'm Blake Melton. I've been leading the effort to get the trails built at Standing Boy. It's been about 5 years when all the front end design, planning, permissions, etc., have been going on. There's a lot that's happening and a lot everyone needs to know about. It's been hard to communicate the past 9 months during the pandemic, and we've been trying to be very cognizant of all the other problems in the world, and have been relatively quiet. But we need to get everybody up to speed on what's going on with the project and also ask everyone for some help. So what I have got is a PowerPoint that'll have some maps and some pictures and other visuals that'll make this a little bit less painful and help give everyone an overview. Chances are you're at the website, depending on how we distribute this, but if you're not, please go check out standingboy.org. Reggie Luther and TrackSoft have donated their time to us on that. The website's great. It's got a lot of useful information. And a number of things that I referenced, there'll be more detail on. So I'm going to move pretty quick and stay at a high level. It's still going to take us about 20 or 30 minutes to kind of get through all the information and give you a full picture of what's going on. And then we're going to follow this up with some shorter segment or shorter discussions or videos or whatever these are to try to get information out until it's easier to have some group meetings at the trails and group runs and rides and that sort of thing. This is the property, if you are unaware. It's about 1,600 acres. It's in North Columbus. This is the north end of Green Island. This is Standing Boy Creek. This is River Road, and that's Old River Road. It was acquired by the state in a part gift, part sale transaction from the Jordan Company in the early 2000s. And it was slated to be a state park and then got put into an interim wildlife management area status because of lack of funding. And it's really, that's where it sat until a few years ago when we started building the trails and started activating the property a little bit more. This revised master plan, which I want to be very clear, we do not have permission from state parks yet. We just asked for the revisions. I hope I'm not going to regret sort of sharing this, but I think it's important when we ask y'all for help to share with you where we're trying to head. So we've got 25 miles of trail that's cleared, flagged. Sorry, when I say cleared, I mean environmentally and archaeologically cleared and ready to build. We're asking to increase that up to 36 miles. What we'd end up with in total is about 25 miles of shared use trail, hiking, biking, running. We'd also do 3.4 miles of hiking only trail, and we'd clear and maintain some old roads or troads that are really being used as trail by a lot of folks right now. Some of them need to be cleared, and we'll sign them and try to integrate them more into the trail system. And then we do 5.3 miles of bike only gravity. So you'd have 25 miles shared use, 6.2 miles that are hiking only or hiking primary, and then 5.3 that are bike only. The original 25 was priced out at about $2 million. So to be conservative, I'm thinking that what we come back with on the revised one will be about $2.75 to $3 million for total cost. This is the trails as they sit now. This is the kiosk map. It's flipped, which makes sense when you're on the property. So now south is at the top. And this is on the website along with some sort of a user's guide that'll give you the information you need to go check out the trails if you haven't already been out there. Please note that the trails do close when they're so wet that a lot of use would damage them. And please check the website for the trail status before you head out. Here's the current trail numbers. We've got 17 miles. 7 of that is green/easy, shared use. Easy, but lots of fun still, even for advanced riders and for runners and hikers. 7 miles green shared use, 9 miles of blue intermediate shared use, and then we've got 1 mile of bike only gravity that's also a green trail. That represents close to 1.2 million of construction cost, and our usage is good in context. We're getting about 125 people on the weekends, up to 75 some weekdays. Obviously, that's dependent upon daylight savings time. I mean, we haven't done anything to sort of activate or drive usage. In fact, we've intentionally been quiet because we don't have enough parking, and we're working on that. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. Those usage numbers are good in that context, but we expect and are going to make them get a lot higher than that. Here's what's dark here is what we are asking to be added to the master plan. This pink trail would be the hiking only trail. This black trail would be shared use, but it would hew much more towards the feel of traditional hiking or multi-use trail. We may get into some hand building potentially, but it would fit within this loop and these trails. These grade trodes are what we would like to clear. Some of them, like right here, is clear. This is clear. This, not as much. Definitely not this. But we'd like to get those cleared and signed. Along with the hiking trail, we would like to do another parking lot here that would primarily serve the hiking trail. If we get the trail built first, then these trodes would provide good connectivity over to the hiking trail. Sorry about that. I'm not used to a touchpad. The other thing I want to point out is this blue trail here. When you mix blue and green, you get teal. And so in the trail builders and users refer to teal trail, which is, harder than green, but not quite blue trail. We would build this more teal, and any rock features and that sort of stuff would be off to the side, or there'd be a very intentionally built ride around. What that would allow is for people from the parking area to use primary goods and Bimini to get out to this hub, to ride the existing Lonely Hunter Trail by the lake up to this hub, and then take this teal trail back. That would cut out the darker blue trail here and the darker blue trail here. And it would allow people sort of a stepping stone loop up to the blue trail. And it would allow people that aren't quite or may never ride the full blue trail a way to get more out onto the property and have more of a remote loop. So those are two needs that we're trying to address in the revised master plan. And hopefully it will get approved in some form that looks like this, and we'll talk more about it at that time. So what's next? What's the next trail that's going to be built? We have got environmentally cleared, funded, and under contract for April, a mile, I think it's a mile-ish, blue gravity trail. It'll be bike-only trail, just like the green trail. And then what we have unfunded and we're waiting on environmental clearance for is a parking lot that'll add 70-ish additional parking spots. And we want to turn primary goods into a loop, and we want to finish building Bimini. The timeline on those are, one, we've got to get environmental clearance. Trillium, there's an endangered species of trillium, which is like a small flowering plant. And it comes out of the ground and blooms in the spring. So we have to do environmental clearance within that time frame. And then hopefully we get cleared. We don't run into issues. And we hope there's lots of endangered trillium on the property, just not where we need to build the parking lot. And then we hope that we got to get funding to build it. So this is the blue trail that is cleared and built. You'll see this is the new section of Lonely Hunter. It comes up along the ridge to here. Eventually, this will keep going and form an inner blue loop along the ridge. We obviously stopped building here and built down to Lonely Hunter. And for right now, this whole loop is called Lonely Hunter. What we'll do in the spring is finish building this segment out, which will eventually be Blue shared use trail to this hub. And then the gravity will drop back down to the lake. Again, cleared, funded, part of the original master plan. We're good there. The proposed parking area, which is an addition to the original master plan, and we have approval from state parks, just not environmental approval. It's will look about like this. Through the help of Jack Houston and Houston Homes, we have engineered drawings and plans, and we're all good except for environmental clearance. This is Old River Road. This is the existing access road. This is a gated road that we're going to clear as a trove, so don't let it confuse you. And then about somewhere in here is the existing parking area. A couple of additional things I want to make sure I mention. If you've been out there in the last couple of days, you'll see there's a new gate going in here. It'll be an automated gate, and it'll start closing like right now, maybe 8 or 9 at night and opening at, 5:30 or 6 in the morning, which will help us make sure that these parking areas don't turn into problems at night, and it'll help fulfill some of the assurances we've made to the neighbors. This gates also will be closed when the trails are closed. And we've got to manage these parking areas. They're parking areas for the trails, and we have to manage them to protect, our $1.2 million and counting investment of donated dollars from the local community. I'll talk more about trail closures in just a minute. So we've got, the only thing we're trying to do right now is this parking area because we desperately need it. If you look at the website, there's also a trailhead master plan that we'll get to eventually. But right now the focus is on trails, parking. And then once we get a little bit further along, we'll start worrying about, changing rooms and better restroom facilities and picnic tables and that sort of thing. And DNR, I also want to make sure we are raising funding for this. DNR built our original parking lot, and we greatly appreciate them doing that. This dark green would be the primary goods extension. This is existing parking. This is primary goods. We can't make it a full loop because we get pinched in at either end, but you'll see it'll integrate with the new parking area, come down and touch primary goods right here. This is really important because primary goods is the main artery in and out, and it's the green trail, so it's more heavily utilized. And we're excited that it's getting this much use this quick, but primary goods right here is getting clogged up, on pretty Saturday mornings and Sunday afternoons. And if we do this, it'll allow us to run it as directional. So alternating by day, bikes go one way, foot traffic goes the other way. And that just gives everybody a little bit better user experience of not the hikers and runners aren't feeling like they're getting ridden up on from behind the whole time. Everybody can see each other coming and scoot over to the side a little bit better. And it'll just make for a much nicer user experience. We want people that are coming for the first time to have a good experience and to want to come back. And then finally, we're going to build this and this of Bimini. Bimini was originally slated to come out here and go all on the water and come back up here. This has got really bad tornado damage. We could clear it, but then without the tree canopy, you're going to have a lot of invasive species, and we could build a trail through here, but it's not really going to give you even visual access to the river very well. This is a longer term project that we need to get partners like the Chattahoochee River folks, the Nature Conservancy folks, and address it. We're not going to bite it off right now. Instead, we'll create some access to the water here, which I'm guilty of not appreciating that sort of thing as much as I should. But, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she rides this whole loop with some of her friends, and it would be a real driver and motivator for kids to get out here and be able to get to the water and have it be sort of a goal and a stopping point. And so that's really the main point of this, is to drive, usage, especially among kids. So you'll come at here, pop back up here, and then you'll get back on single track. Another point to make real quick is you'll see how we're using the roads in these wet areas. I mean, first of all, that means that we're not crossing sensitive streams and repairing habitats, which is obviously good. It also keeps us from having to sink a bunch of money and resources into building wooden bridges and raised trail and that sort of thing. So that's trail system, big picture trail system we have now, what we're hoping to do next. And then I'm going to start zooming back out to sort of the purpose of the project and what we're trying to achieve. So who's been designing and building these things is Trail Solutions. They are an arm of the International Mountain Bike Association, which is a nonprofit. To throw more acronyms at you, SORBA is the Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association, which for our purposes, it's good enough to say that SORBA is the southeastern arm of IMBA. And so through the local SORBA chapter and Trail Solutions is how we've gotten the sort of the contacts to get the design and construction team in. These are two sort of 100-page manuals that they put out a while ago. The most recent work was a collaboration with the Bureau of Land Management. It's on the website if you want to take a look at it. It's available for free in digital format. But this book on the left, the Trail Solutions book, is really for a long time been sort of the technical handbook or Bible for building sustainable single track. We're using them and paying them for a few reasons. One is if we were trying to do this with volunteer labor by hand, we have about 2 miles of trail out there right now. Additionally, and more importantly, one is sustainability, both for ecological, environmental sustainability, and also sustainability in terms of the amount of volunteer maintenance that's going to be required to sufficiently maintain the trails. The second is user experience. They're doing lots of things that I can get into later with choke points and grade reversals and sight lines to make sure that these are safe, enjoyable, shared use trails. And then finally, putting aside, interactions with other users, you just get trails that are more fun out of professional design and construction. On the sustainability front, this is what we are trying to avoid. You can see the picture on the left is actually some of the guys that I've gotten to be friends with that are builders and site managers. And this is them about 2 weeks ago at Yancey Ridge, which is northernmost Pisgah, almost up towards Boone. This used to be a trail where they're looking down. And now they're having to come in and reroute a lot of this stuff. But because of, that's just because it's practically not rideable. But even in Pisgah proper, down near Brevard, a lot of that stuff's having to get rerouted, not because it stopped being fun, but because of stream and runoff issues. So we want to avoid creating something that's going to be a mess in 10 years. The couple of very simple rules of thumb as to how that's done. First is the half rule. So they're out there in the woods with clinometers measuring side slope. And as a very general rule, if the side slope is 20%, the general grade of the trail is not going to be more than 10. 20 divided by 2 is 10, thus the half rule. Because if we get the trail steeper, like at a 15% grade, water is going to get onto the trail and run down the trail, which creates the erosion and all the problems. If we keep it less than 10%, we're going to have a much better chance of getting the water to sheet across the trail, which is going to really lessen the erosion of the trail. Now, none of this is to say that we can't have steeper segments of trail. This is a general rule, and it's also an overall grade. It's not the grade of, say, a short section of trail. The second thing is when we've got the overall grade of the trail, they're gonna have all these instances, rolling contour grade reversals, where you're going down and then the trail kicks back up. And the reason is water doesn't flow uphill. So water is going to get off the trail this way. It's not going to flow uphill on the grade reversal. And those are just two of the really simple things that they're doing to help these trails be sustainable. These are the green trails that are at Standing Boy. I need to get some better pictures that shows them after they've been naturalized more. This trail is a couple days old. This is before it was even opened at all. And you can see that even though they're in here, with these sort of what you might think of as landscaping size equipment, they're doing all this, but when they're done, first of all, when they clear a corridor, they're dragging everything away so we don't have lots of piles of brush. And then when they're done, they're blowing leaf cover back up to the edges of the trail, and they leave something that looks like this on day one, and that 6 months later looks like it's been there for forever. And we really emphasize the green trail. I feel like a lot of places get some money and they go build the trail that the avid riders want to ride. And we're very intentional about building lots of green trail and actually devoting resources to it. So it's fun green trail. And this is the day we open the green trails, and you can see that you can be young, you can be old, you don't have to be a huge fitness enthusiast. They're very accessible to everyone. These are the blue trails. You can see these are going to be a little bit steeper, a little bit narrower, more rock, and the rock's going to be a little bit chunkier. These are, again, two very new sections of trail at Standing Boy. We don't have any black trail yet. It's in the master plan, but again, we're trying to, I'm dying for it, but we're trying to make sure that we stay true to building something that's in the best interest of the overall community, and the order in which we're building is reflective of that. All right, one last thing on trails. This is out of the master plan, and I'm not going to get into all this because I don't understand half of it. But these are all the different things they're looking at, and just gives you a taste of, they're not just out there throwing down trail. They're looking at very specific things to make sure that green's different from blue, different from black, that they're consistently green, blue, and black, and they offer the kind of user experience that everybody's expecting. So that's zooming out from what we got now to the overall who's building the trails and choices and trail grades and such. This gets back to, why does our community want trails? A lot of these are really obvious, like exercise. We'd like to have events and competition. The overall health and well-being is, I feel very strongly about this. It's not just physical, it's mental and even spiritual, to be able to have a place to get out in the woods and be away from the modern world. We're looking forward to partnerships with other organizations for interpretive signage and other things to help get the people who may not be out there for nature to appreciate it, and then hopefully become interested in being stewards of that property and our planet. And the community is a sore spot for me, because it's been very sad to me to finally get all this done. And now we've got the pandemic, but we're looking forward to building a real sense of community around those trails as soon as we can. These last two at the bottom right are key. When you think about attracting and retaining businesses and workers, you think about young professionals and some of the publicly traded corporate. Young Professionals is a program at the Chamber intended to attract young professionals. And a lot of these efforts that large employees are undertaking, this very much dovetails with those. And then once we get sufficient mileage built, and we're already seeing people from Tallahassee and parts of Alabama are showing up, we're going to build enough trail to really make it worth their while. And we're going to start marketing. We're going to see more and more of that, and it's going to complement Whitewater in a big way. I don't want to get, I'm skipping ahead myself. So those benefits are how we then translate it into broad-based support within the community. The mayor's office and folks in the city have been extraordinarily supportive and helpful. Our congressional and Senate state representatives have been the same. With community groups and leaders, Coalition for Sound Growth, Columbus 2025 are a couple of examples. The same with businesses. A lot of our larger employers have individually indicated support, but then the Chamber of Commerce and the Visitors Bureau have been very supportive. All the user groups, including, and I want to point out Columbus State. I mean, that it can be a big boon. There's a lot of things they can do with extracurricular activities and clubs, and it can be something big for them, and they're aware of that. We want to partner with our environmental groups, as we talked about earlier, and they're supportive. And then we've worked hard to make nearby homeowners at least feel comfortable with this and keeping it of a very sort of respecting the natural state of that property. To jump back to Whitewater, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this today, but if you go to Ocoee or Solly or the National Whitewater Center, mountain biking is all very much a part of those places and is very much interwoven. And you get a lot of the same people doing both activities, and that's something that we can benefit from as well. This is an Atlanta mountain bike group. They're one of their Sorba chapters that took a trip to Ocoee, and this is, I think, the lesson or the point here is that there was no event. Mountain bikers in particular, if we have good trails and then we have Whitewater and we have Uptown, they will come spend the weekend. They don't without an event. So we don't have to have events. We want to as soon as we get the infrastructure and we figure a few things out, but they're not necessary to sort of getting people from out of town to come spend a weekend in Columbus. So after we build these things, we got to maintain them. Even though they're professionally built, they're made of dirt. They're in the woods, so they require maintenance. Probably the most essential thing, other than clearing down trees and such, is deberming, or people hear it called nicking or drain clearing. But really, the idea here is we have all these grade reversals where the trail kicks back up, and we need the water to flow off the trail. Well, everybody's using the middle of the trail, so it gets compacted, and you get a little bit of a berm out here. And then you get a bunch of leaves and stuff in the fall. And so it's just going along and deberming, nicking off this little dirt berm and getting rid of the leaves and making it easy for the water to drain off. That's not an every month thing. That's just a seasonal winter, spring, a couple times a year, a few times a year sort of thing, depending on the trail, which trail and how much rain and all that sort of stuff. The second thing we do is we armor. They do a lot of armoring, but they can't predict every wet spot, and we can't pay them to armor every wet spot. So when we see areas, and this was preventative, but this was going to become an issue, we armored it. And this is all volunteer led. And then this is what it looks like at the end. And this was a very good, I was super pleased with how this turned out. And it's very sustainable. I mean, this is going to be there and should, be not a problem for a long, long time. So trail closures, and I know this may be unusual for some people, but these trails are different than other trails we have around here. They're multi-use trails, they're urban, and so they're very heavily utilized. They're easy to get to, and we hope they're going to become more and more heavily utilized. There's also some mica in the soil, and I can get into how well or not well the soil is graded and a bunch of other stuff. But there are some factors unique to that property. It's obviously next to a large river. So it's going to be closed. It's going to be closed to protect our investment in the trail, because when people are having to fix stuff like this, and the compliance has been exceptional. This is when we pushed the limit, leaving trails open. When we're having to fix stuff like this, we're not focusing effort on doing stuff that's fun. Not fun for the volunteers, so they're staying motivated, but also that's going to add to the experience of the trail system. We're fixing messes. And what'll happen here if we allow use and let this, people will start going to the sides and it'll grow. And then as it stays wet, the water's going to start seeping both ways out of this ditch, or this low area, and it's just going to get worse and worse. And a few of these aren't that annoying, but we get a bunch of them and the trail stops being fun. And then we've lost compaction, so they take a long time to heal, because we've got to get all that compaction back without recreating the ruts that hold the water. And you can see if you get enough foot traffic, I mean, foot traffic is not immune from doing this either, which is why trail closures apply to everyone. And on maintenance and trail closures, the most important takeaway from this is if everybody's really good about not using the trails, and if people come to trail work days, we have fewer problems, we can address those problems more quickly, and the trails can be open more. I mean, we can all have a very material impact on how much the trails are open by respecting trail closures and by showing up for trail work days. So this started out with CVA Sorba being the advocate, the local mountain bike group, and Trail Solutions is and still the contractor, and all the money came through the community foundation. We wanted people to give to a group that was not sort of user specific and that was focused on the community. As this has grown, we formed Standing Boy Inc., which is a Georgia nonprofit with 501c3 status. And the Standing Boy Inc. is now the central entity that's involved with building and managing the trails. And the mission of Standing Boy Inc. is reflective of the mission of the trails and what we hope is the mission of that property. Is first, we want to protect and preserve the natural beauty of the property. Second, we want to create, maintain, and manage a spectacular natural surface trail system that is consistent with the natural state of the property. And that's where we're spending 99% of our effort right now. As we build out more of the trail system, we'll get more focused on our third purpose, which is to leverage the natural beauty of the property and the trail system to, one, advocate with partner organizations for sound forestry management, ecological practices, dealing with that tornado damage and replanting an invasive species is a good example of that. We want to drive usage of the trail because we believe being out there, you end up with a healthier, happier life if you're physically active in a natural environment. And then we want to promote appreciation, understanding, and stewardship of nature. We may have people that are out there for exercise, that are out there for adrenaline, whatever they're out there for, but we want to try to partner with other organizations and use this as an opportunity to hopefully engender some appreciation of our natural environment and some desire to take care of it. I also want to make sure I say that this in no way diminishes the role of CVA Sorba. If you Google CVA Sorba, there's a link, I think, on the donate page of our website. Please, especially if you're a mountain biker, please join. Their relationships at the state level played a huge role in making this happen. They have an insurance policy that we would not have the trails without because we can add the Department of Natural Resources as an additional insured. And CVA Sorba and its members have done 99% of all the volunteer labor. So please continue, or if you have not, please join that organization. Those membership dues are important for a number of reasons, and it's not that expensive. Also, I mentioned the Community Foundation. Their faith and support early on has been huge, and they've continued to be really good partners. And then I also wanted to emphasize that, we appreciate, state parks and DNR, they've built the initial parking lot, they've handled all the environmental and archaeological surveys, and they've been very easy and good to work with. But these trails are 100% the result of donated dollars and volunteer hours, and their maintenance is the same. The board of Standing Boy Inc., I'm chair. Hank Moore, secretary and treasurer. Hank is a mountain biker and a good friend of mine. John Turner and Garner Gerard, many of you know or know those names. They're longtime community leaders, and sort of their presence and gravitas has been really helpful in making this happen. Reggie is co-owner of Big Dog and a well-known figure, I guess I would say, in the local running community. Will Peak is a neighboring resident on Old River Road. Jack Houston's a mountain biker and owns Houston Homes. And again, they've been just awesome in this parking lot. we're getting a very good price on it. I'm really just paying for the grading. And then Keith Wills, many of you who are mountain bikers know, Keith leads the volunteer maintenance effort and puts in a ton of time out there. And I don't know what I would do without Keith. So if you see him out there, tell him thank you. So to wrap this up, where we are right now is we need $200,000. And we shut down all fundraising in March-ish when everybody realized how serious it was, because we felt like we did not want to be competing with other organizations that were, dealing with health and food and shelter and those sorts of things, and other more direct problems to the pandemic. But we're in a situation where parking's a problem. And it's going to become more and more of a problem this spring as more and more people discover the trails. And we need to turn primary goods into a loop for the same reason and complete this green trail so we have a complete experience to offer people. So that's where, and we hopefully, have some light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccine. So we're stepping back in and we're to fundraise. Here's how you can give. We have a Facebook button if you go to the Facebook page, or you can give directly to us, or you can still give to the special project fund of the Community Foundation. If you go to the website, standingboy.org/donate, it'll walk you through this. And my apologies for it being a little involved, but I'll explain why in just a second. If you don't itemize, if you take the standard deduction, which will be most everybody, and you're not a business, you don't need, if you're a business, you want the receipt. If you're not giving more than $1,000, any donations of any size are appreciated. But if you're not giving more than if you are not itemizing, you're giving more than $1,000, or you're giving from a donor advised fund, just get the money straight to us. If it's a donor advised fund, Betsy and those folks know how to find me. Just contact us. If you need a tax receipt, and you're not giving more than $1,000, give to the Community Foundation. What's going on here is that we just simply don't have the time to write a letter that's evidence of the donation for every $100 donation we get. And so the Community Foundation can handle that. If you're giving $1,000 or more, I'll be happy to write you the letter. So it's a little confusing. Just contact us if you have problems. But the main thing is we need the community that's using these trails really needs to step up with $250 and $500 or more donations, so we can get this parking built, because in the pandemic, these larger chunks of money for projects like this are just going to be hard to come by. So I appreciate it if you've made it this far. Like I said, we'll do some more of these. We'll talk, they'll be much shorter and much more focused, but felt like this was important to give everybody a long overdue update on a lot of different things that have been going on. So if I can figure out how to shut this off, I appreciate your time very, very much and hope to see you at the trails.